Hi, I'm Daria, and this is The Higher Authority. To my right, we have Doug. To my left, we have Aaron. We are here to talk to you today about some really, really fun topic. We went to Half Hollow Hills School, and we're going to be talking about our kids and our youth and things of that nature.
So the next question, which was very important to the kids, was what are the most lucrative and stable career paths to consider? And that brought up a number of different topics that we covered.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that we talk to the kids about is that your job search and your career path is not mom and dad's job search and career path. Industries evolve, industries have peaks and valleys, and you have to look forward. So we talked a lot of, again, AI was a huge topic of conversation, but it was what are you looking to major in? What can you get out of what you're going to school for? Different jobs in some of the basics, your finance. Yes, there's great roles in investments, while at the same time you have to look at things like accounting that AI is going to affect.
For sure.
So you have to look at not what, if the child is a high school senior right now, that means they're the class of 2020 in college. You can't just look at what's going to be good in 2020. Look at 2030, 2040 to make sure things are forward thinking, that you're not jumping into dead industries.
Yeah, well, you have to be right. You have to be cognizant of what's happening around you. You have to be looking at all the different situations that are out there, and you have to educate yourself. Something like attorneys, right? So attorneys has always been that staple job. What do you want to be? I want to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Right.
That's always been, when you grew up, those were the things that was like, oh, this, that was where you were going. You have to be aware, though, that some of the legal industry may use AI for some of those jobs that handle the discovery component.
Yeah, the paralegals, the legal assistants.
Right. So you'll have a need for some of them, but you won't have this abundance that you used to have, because there is information that you can gather from AI and things of that nature. And like you said, finance. I mean, there's tons of different places that you can go with that.
Yeah, and we also talked about school might not be for everybody.
No.
Yeah,
and we talked about going into the workforce, professional services. There's going to be an AI less need for people, field engineers and construction folks and plumbers and electricians and things of that nature. And reiterated that they do really well. You can start your own business and things of that nature. I mean, new businesses are started from those different fields, and saying there's a huge need. It's a very lucrative path. It's a great career to have. Owning your own business or being part of an organization that provides those types of services. So, and school is not for everybody, So we try to also, try and drive some of those points home. They're saying, those are stable career paths, they're lucrative career paths, and and the kids want to make bank. A lot of them said that they wanted to make bank. So, that's another area to certainly look at.
Well, and also to touch on that, when you talk about plumbers and electricians, there are the unions, right?
Yep.
And so you're set up for life. If you get into the right union, you have health care for life. You have a pension. Those are things that are unheard of. So don't knock a trade school. Never knock it. I feel like sometimes it's got this negative connotation that it really shouldn't have, especially someone who specializes in fields like that. They are very lucrative.
I think what current students and of this kind of recent generation have to fight is, that none of us did, that their parents didn't, is social media. Social media is one of the things that makes going to trade school look like you're failing or you have FOMO because you're missing out. Because listen, it's 4 great years. Rah rah, have fun. But at the same,
that's your thing.
If that's your thing,
because there's certain kids that it's not their thing. They don't care.
But at the same time, you start in the trade school by the time your high school friends have graduated, you're making significant money.
Yeah.
And with money comes fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be able to do what you want to do, to be able to really get out ahead. So that social media aspect that makes everything look like it's the best.
Yeah. Right.
It's not accurate.
Right.
It's not always the case.
Yeah.
So, as parents or as mentors, we have to guide people through that. I know you're not a school guy. I know you feel like you have to do this, but you don't. Right. Here's what, you'll miss out on. Here's what you'll gain. There are pros and cons to both. I had this discussion with both of my children. They decided both to spend all my money, but that's okay.
And that's a really good segue, Aaron, for employees looking at social media profiles
Yes.
when considering a job candidate. And there's also a LinkedIn component we'll get into as well. So the kids asked about their TikTok and what they're putting out there,
Yeah.
and we were pretty adamant about make sure what you're putting out there is good. Clean, because a lot of employers, and Aaron can certainly speak to this, they review every part of your social. You have to submit your social media profile to those companies for consideration. So so that was something that was important to the students. So we definitely covered a lot of that.
Yeah,
sure.
I have several clients who that's part of my submission process. Is I have to give them the candidate's LinkedIn and whatever other social media that I can find. They want to know. And if I'm not going to provide it to them, they're probably going to look themselves.
Right.
Maybe before the first interview, maybe even before the offer letter goes out.
Yeah.
Regardless, they're looking. They want to know. And as careful as you think you may be, it might not be careful enough. What you think is offensive or what you think is harmless might not fit in with what the client is looking for their employees.
Very true. The way I explain it to my son is that if your social media winds up in the hands of your enemy, your worst enemy,
Right.
who can use it against you, and they could use it against you, don't post it.
Nope.
That's how you know. If the worst person possible can get a hold of this and can use it to make you lose that job, lose that relationship, whatever it is that's important to you at that moment, if that person gets a hold of it and can use it against you, and you say, oh, maybe they could use it, if there's a maybe and it's not 100% this cannot be used against me, do not post it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. If you think it's hidden, you have to hope that no one took a picture of it, nobody saw it, it's not.
Yep.
Even Snapchat, it disappears. Not necessarily.
Yeah, not if you have a second phone that you can take a picture of Snapchat without anyone knowing that you screenshotted
That's you,
anything.
right.
Again, I have teenagers, so I know.
Right.
And it's not just employers. Think about graduate school.
Sure.
Think about any of that. And if
Even scholarships.
Yep.
100%.
Absolutely.
These are all competitive landscapes. And if you think that there's not a fellow student that would sabotage you or sabotage your child, you're wrong if you don't think that happens. If you're a student and a job seeker that's looking, or you're a parent or a mentor of, set your social media to private. It's not a cure-all, but it certainly helps. And again, if you're a mentor or a parent, go through their social media with them. Might be awkward,
Yeah,
but go through it with them and say, this doesn't belong, this doesn't belong.
Because they may not know.
No, I mean, listen, there's someone who just came back from vacation. I saw plenty of people taking pictures of themselves that I'm sure went on their social media that you wouldn't want a future employer focused on.
Yeah.
Whether it's, with a beer in hand or a level of dress or whatever it is. You know, it's not just, remember, it's not just what you think is okay.
Right, no, it's definitely not just you.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that also brings up a good point around the importance of LinkedIn for even high school students going into college, you know, pursuing those opportunities and building a deep and a strong LinkedIn profile to be able to attract recruiters and hiring companies.
Yep.
And they asked about that, and we kind of gave them some insight around, you know, making sure, because we see a lot of kids in college or coming out of college that don't have strong profiles. And I had one that approached me the other day. A marketing person approached me through a connection, and I stepped through a LinkedIn profile, and there was nothing there. And I'm like, okay, you're in market, you're looking for things. So, but we, you know, stress the definite importance of LinkedIn and managing content properly, you know, within LinkedIn, you know, and making sure it was, you know, business centric and showing the merits of your background and your expertise and, you know, your accomplishments and things like that. So we did get quite a bit into the importance of LinkedIn and other profiles too on Indeed and maybe ZipRecruiter and some of the other platforms and such.
On LinkedIn.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, leveraging, you know, your connections, your network, your alumni network, your community network, and things of that nature, and being able to build that profile and build that ecosystem.
You really touched on, though, the alumni, and I think that's important to maybe explain and touch on that again. That was so important, the way you were talking about the school and just the alumni connection. I think that's really important, if you could touch on.
Yeah, I mean, just even me, I went to Marist College in upstate New York in Poughkeepsie, go Red Foxes, and I'll talk to anybody from Marist, you know, that come to me and say, Doug, I see you're an alumni, I'm looking for an opportunity, I want to talk to you about the market, and I'm happy to have those chats, and I'll entertain those chats all day, right? So I think, and most alumni will, you know, they're proud of the community that they're part of, the relationships that they built, you know, professionally or personally. So, you know, so there is that, you know, level of connection that people, you know, entertain and are happy to be part of. So we express to the students, you know, once you develop that foundation of people that you build those relationships with, either in an academic sense or in a, you know, just a community sense, it's huge. I mean, you know, again, most people are going to be recommending and referring people for opportunities, and you know, it's a really invaluable experience and valuable way to be able to, you know, take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think so, because especially when you're looking for someone, you know, for us, when we're presenting people to a position, you know, if there's two people with the exact same qualifications, but this guy went to the same school as you, or is involved in the same type of charity as you, or has community involvement, or came from the same location, those things are factors.
Yep.
I mean, they really are factors in who wins the bid there.
no. And deep down, you typically, and hiring managers are no different, you drift to people subconsciously, at least, that have similar, that their profile is similar to yours. So if, you know, I come across a Hofstra alumni, we at one point in time made the same decision.
Right.
So.
And it feels good.
It does. It does.
And like they say, birds of a feather flock together.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's really true. I definitely am a creature of comfort when I see someone that's in that same vein. So closing thoughts?
No, it was just a great opportunity. We're thankful to have Hollow Hills West High School for the opportunity to present to the students. They were awesome,
Maria was fantastic.
and Maria Golden was great, and
great.
and her colleagues were great. So we're really appreciative of the opportunity.
Go Colts.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been another edition of The Hire Authority. If you'd like to send us a question, a comment, a complaint, anything, contact us at info@execsally.com. I will answer any of the compliments. I'll give these guys the complaints. Have a great day.